Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 917 for the 28th of August. Currently, it's 29th of August. In case you do not know and you're new to this channel, this is a summary of the previous day. So don't ask me, say, wow, your information is so outdated, Come on. So recently, a lot of shit is being thrown around, and a lot of people, while watching the video, is actually eating. As a result, a lot of people got food poisoning, and I just have to apologize to you guys. Slava Ukraini. Anyway, we're going to go into the uh, strategy and tactical reporting. The frontline changes report is already published on the main channel, and we have still some frontline change, but this there's not real change per se, but it's more like some confirmation of partially of what have been claimed by the Russian side. Is that English? Anyway, so this area here is now confirmed to be captured by the Russian forces due to the geolocation. Everything else around here in Horodivka is actually claimed by the Russian mapping, but we haven't confirmed this yet. The Ukrainians have not considered this yet as well. The next one, the other frontline change other than the Horodivka is over at Mikhailivka, also in the Pokrovsk front. And similarly, it's the same situation. We have a geolocation of Russian forces, which confirms that they are indeed in this area here. But of course, with the Russian mapping, is a bit further than this. So these are the frontline change, which is not exactly change. Yeah. So no, changing or not changing is still shit. And sorry, I forgot about it. Sorry for the food poisoning. And we're gonna go into the strategy and tactical reporting. And this time around, we're gonna start with KURSK. So KURSK update. Russian forces and Ukrainian forces continue to battle in the KURSK front very fiercely, and the Ukrainians are still trying to do offensive in this region here. So we go to generally there is continued fighting from the Ukrainians in the western flank at the Snagos region, at Kalinevo region, and in the center front, they also trying to push towards the eastern front at Ruskaya Konopelka, and in the southern flank, not fronts, flanks. So all these different flanks, the Ukrainians are still pushing. Russians are pushing back in the various ways, but they're not really doing the offensive kind of push. Only in the southern flank that the Russians are doing that. Most of our others seems to be more like fire attack and just trying to destroy the Ukrainian manpower and equipments. So we're gonna start off with the western flank. So over in the Snagos region, Russian forces are trying to stop the Ukrainians with attacks on Snagos, Krasnootobelsky, Panovsovka, and Vinnyzapnoye. And the Ukrainians are attacking in the western part of Panovsovka and Komarovka. And the fact that they are still stuck at Komarovka is a amazing thing. I didn't expect them to not able to capture Komarovka. So the Russians still hold Komarovka, and this situation continues to be a disaster for the Ukrainians, because if they don't capture Komarovka, then they cannot go anywhere even nearer to Kloshkovo, and the Kloshkovo offensive or the pincer will continue to be delayed, and that is going to be a bad thing. Over at the Karinevo region, the Ukrainian forces are still pushing for Karinevo, but in retrograde fashion, Russian forces is instead geolocated in the eastern part of Karinevo, confirming the Russians are actually in this area invalidating Ukrainian claims. This is not a capture. It's just an invalidation of the Ukrainian claim, because the Ukrainian claimed a lot of things. And this area here, the Russians are geolocated there, so no. Yeah, the Russians are there. So Russians are also attacking at Matvievka as well as Ogovka. Ukrainians are still attacking Ogovka and Kremyanoe. So the current strategic situation did not change, except that tactically the Karinevo situation looks much worse now for the Ukrainians. So that's it from this area. The northern flank continues to be quiet. The furthest point we have to see Ukrainians are still in this region here, just around Kalinov region or Kalinov region. With the latest is a geolocation of a Russian airstrike on the Ukrainians on this portion or this part of the forest. And yeah, further up north, there's still no evidence of Ukrainian presence. And yeah, probably very soon we're going to eliminate all these areas here. The reality is that even the Russian mapping, like the Russian sources, they don't really know what's happening in the area in the north of this, in this northern flank. Even in their mapping is still, a lot of gray zones. They are also not so sure. So a lot of fog of war currently in this region. Over on this central flank, let's call it a central flank. I always don't have a name for this. So in the central flank, the Russian forces are trying to push out over at Novaya Soroshina or Sorochina and Kruglenkoe, as well as over at Malaya Loknia. Ukrainians are still trying to attack Malaya Loknia, and is again a surprise that they are still have not taken Malaya Loknia. What the hell did the Russians have there that they cannot break through? So yeah, so this is what it is. Ukrainian forces are geolocated, getting struck by a glide bomb, not glide bomb. This is actually a guided bomb, and this airstrike invalidates Russian mapping, which likely that the Ukrainians have the full forest around here. Further away, we are not so sure. But at least this forest patch, the Ukrainians are likely to be there. So thus the mapping change. So all these frontline changes over in the Kursk front is just corrections based on the latest geolocations. So kind of like refining the details of the front line. So Russian forces continue to do bombardments in the rear positions at Obukovka, Lyubimovka, Vitlikovo, Yuzhny, Sudja. So they're just shelling all the forward operating positions. And over in the Sudja sector, there is geolocation of Ukrainian vehicles getting struck by FPV drones. But this also confirms that the Russians are not there, because if they are there, they will just use their rifle. So this confirms Ukrainian presence in the north of Martinovka. Russians are attacking or bombarding Mirny. And so, as Jason mentioned, they are also bombarding Sudja. Ukrainians are attacking Ruskaya Konopelka, and so far, still no success. They are still stuck. They are also stuck here. So a lot of these frontline positions, they are all stuck. The Ukrainians just cannot break through. Like Karenevo, the Snagos, the region at Komarovka, as well as Ruskaya Konopelka. These are all locations that the Ukrainians get stuck in. Over the southern flank, the Russian forces are attacking Borki as well as Spanoe. No, sorry, only Borki. Ukrainians are the one attacking Borki region and Spanoe. There is Russian claims that they say that Spanoe is actually, under Russian control. The fighting is actually in the west. So I just take it with a pinch of salt until we can confirm that. The Russians are also attacking or shelling Ukrainian forces over at Plikovo. So that's about it. You can see that the entire Kursk front is very even at this moment. It's very stalemate-ish, and yeah, but as I said, if the front line gets static, it's going to be in the disadvantage of the Ukrainians. And in the Sumy region, you can see the cluster of shelling. So one cluster is being shelled over in the Khrushchev region. As you can see, all this shelling in this region here. No point going through all the names. Another group is being shelled in the Tekhino region. And then another group is being shelled in the Kolitilovka region. So the Ukrainians clearly seems to have some gathering of forces in these various zones. And these are something that I've already reported before. The Tekhino one is meant to attack as one of the pincer on the Glushkovo. We have the Khrushchev region that is supposed to go for Rylis, or they can also go up to the Bryansk region border with Kursk. And the Kolitkovo region, of course, this is to push in to create more diversions. But tentatively, the Ukraine seems to be very stuck. They still have not taken the action, so we're just going to continue to wait. So there is geolocation of yet another multiple launch rocket system getting destroyed by Iskander. So not sure what is the genre, the previous, the type of the MLRS. The previously, a lot of HIMARS and the M270s got destroyed. And if in case you missed the SITREP, there's likely something to do with the lack of longer range missiles. I got this my feeling, because there's no reason for the HIMARS or M270 to be deployed this close to the front line. Maybe because they don't have the longer range ones, they have only the shorter range missiles, which is why they are being forced to operate closer to the front line and thus become a target for drones that's hunting for them, and then they call in the missile strikes. Over at the Kharkiv front, the Russian forces are attacking at Lipsy as well as Voschansk. And then there is a location called Elisivka that actually was also hit by Russian forces. And this is just across the border. And I'm not sure if this is an incursion from the Zuralevka region. So this area here was previously one of those areas that the Ukrainians actually launched the Belgorod incursion or offensive region, but particularly over at the Nikotivka region. South of Zuralevka is this a small little village of Elisivka, and this was reportedly attacked. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if this becomes a proper offensive action, in this area here. But that's all from the Kharkiv front. There's nothing much to report about. And moving into the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, major development happened over in Sinkivka, with the Russian forces geolocated within Sinkivka. And this is a massive change in the situation around here, because Sinkivka has always been this stalemate-ish region, where all the front line is very rigid. Nothing is really changing around here. This is the first time that in a long time that the tactical situation have changed. And the Ukrainians, based on the Ukrainian sources, they still claim that Sinkivka is under control. They are basically like semi-panicking, telling people that everything is fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. So that is the current situation. I just raised my hands, but you cannot see. It's fine. It's fine. So so that's what I did. But I was like, after I did it, I felt stupid because you didn't see my hands. So then the Russians are attacking also in the region of Petropavlivka. And so that's it. I wonder if this will become a real offensive where the Russians actually decided to really push Sinkivka. So tentatively, we'll just continue to wait for the update regarding this area here. And then the Russians are also attacking in the region of Pischany front, in the Pischany region or sector front. Let's call it Pischany front. Russians are attacking towards Kolesnikivka as well as Krylyakivka. Fighting is also reported as Temakivka. So all the Kakakas here are all under attack. The Trikas. So there is geolocation of Russian forces in this frontline regions that is already marked as Russian. So this confirms the Russian presence around all these various locations. So that's good to know. And there is this possibility that because the Russians are pushing for the Senkove-Krylyakivka crossing, and then it could be a case where the Russians would attack for the Kupiansk crossing and the Senkove crossing at the same time. And then if the Russians really pull off this, it would be ridiculous. It will be, oh my god, it will be like Hollywood. So let's see how this goes. Of course, the development here would take days to weeks to play out. So not so fast. Unless the Ukrainians want to surprise me, then please surprise me. But the pro-Ukrainian guys would ask you not to surprise. So over at the Svetove front, actions are mostly in the southern part of the front line, with fighting reported in Novoyehorivka, towards Druzilubivka, Makievka, and Nevsky. So we'll continue to monitor this. There's always a lot of fog of war around this region. We do not know what the hell is happening. Over the Crimea front, the Russian forces are attacking towards Novosadove, Torske, and Dibrova. Generally, also, I don't expect frontline changes around here because these are usually very rigid lines. So we move into the Sivas front. At the Sivas front, Russian forces shelled Ukrainian forces at Serbianka and attacked Spurny. There is no reports of the other attacks in the other regions in the Spurny Sivas region, which is a surprise. So let's see how this develops. We move into the Bakhmut front. In the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, Russian forces are attacking in the area of Zaliniansky, Kraikorivka, as well as Chasivya. So that's about it. I like to see more of this. This is also rather interesting. I mentioned quite a few times in every SITREP. So let's see how this goes. In the southern flank, we have fighting reported in Ivanivsky, towards Tuposhki, at Klishevka region, Andrievka, and towards Bilahora. And if you look at all the arrows, it looks like this is some kind of massive offensive happening in this region here. I'm not sure if this is the case yet, but let's look out for frontline changes, geolocations, and whatnot. Perhaps the Russians are indeed pushing for the canal, but let's see. Moving further on, we go into the New York front. At the New York front, there is fighting reported at Druzhba, Pivnishny region, Torex, Nelipivka, New York, Pentamelanivka, and Alexandropil. And you can see this is a full-fledged offensive in this region here. And there is frontline changes at the Pivnishny Torex region and the Pentamelanivka region. And so over at this in Druzhba as well. So geolocation of Russian forces in the new area in Druzhba confirming Russians attack, and they have also continued to string down this salient here, where the Russians are making this this push towards the center of Torex city. Geolocation of Russian forces confirming Russian presence in the high-rise zone, and this is continuing to be the situation around this area, and and we can see that the Russians are making very quick progress down this highway. Yeah, there is still a lot of good defensive position, like this entire high-rise zone the Ukrainians could use. They also have the industrial zone, the high grounds. So the battle of Torres definitely is not over. There is still a lot to fight for. But this salient here is gone. This definitely not can't possibly be there. And so we just continue to monitor. The situation at Nelipivka is actually more weird, because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said fighting near Nelipivka is still ongoing in 3 locations. So is that them trying to tell us that Nelipivka is actually surrounded in 3 different directions? So if that is true, then we can imagine that the Russian forces have actually established this situation, and they are attacking from the west, or rather northeast, southeast, as well as from the south, which is 3 different directions. This could be possible, and fighting in the New York region could actually means that they are fighting in this area. This is still considered in the New York area, so we just continue to monitor and see how this goes. The lack of reporting or map updates from New York is suspicious and very weird. So let's see. At the Pentamelanivka, the Russian forces conquered all of the 3 lines on the eastern part of this village, and they are now poised to attack into the town or the village. And this will strengthen Alexandropil in the south, and yeah, so that's not going to be good for the Ukrainians. So let's see how this develop. We move into the Pokrov front. At the Pokrov front, the collapse continues with the Ukrainians continue to be not defending the regions mostly, and the Russians are making quick progress all along the front line. So over at the Horodivka region, the Russian forces have most likely taken Novotoretsk. These are based on Russian claims, and they have allegedly taken half of Horodivka, the entire southern shores of the river. Geolocation, of course, we already mentioned, and the Russian forces seems to have captured Krytia, and the fighting is now in the Krasnaya, and that they are about to capture it. And also the Russians have seemingly finished conquest of the entire northern part of Novohorodivka. So this is a massive development if the Russian claims is to be true or to be believed, and then which means that the Russians basically has completed 1.5 boss already. So the first boss, Novohorodivka, is taken out. So still got one more first boss in the Horodivka, and then the battle will now move into Myhorod region, Manohorod region. So let's see how this develop. Over in the southern side, in the Selidove direction or region, the situation is just as bad around here. I can't zoom in. So Russian forces have entered into Selidove based on Russian mappings, and they have conquered Mikhailivka, at least confirmed now. And according to the Russians, they have also captured Marinivka. So this is also a very big development. Selidove is what I call also the alternate second boss, and the Russians taking on the second boss or second alternate boss is a bit of a surprise to me. I never expected the Russians to move this quickly, and I got a strange suspicion that the Ukrainians would not defend Selidove. I got this strange feeling that the Russians are just going to march through the settlement and the city, and they'll just capture it. This is the feeling that I get. So, but it's okay. No, there is still the Ukrainians are still pushing and having success in KURSK. This is what someone said on Twitter. So I just want to say I put it on Telegram though. So if you do not know that DPA have a Telegram, do check it out, do follow and subscribe at the DPA's Telegram. Also, of course, if you are a Twitter user, just follow on Twitter. Discord, there's also Discord. Check out the description. And for those that want to access this mapping and look at the information yourself, the link to the map is in the description as well. So we move to the southern part of the Pokrov front, and this sector is just as bad. Is also one hell of a mess. Russian forces have taken control, full control of the Isthmus or the land bridge north of Kharkivka. Fighting is reported at Kharkivka. The Russians, as mentioned, have previously already taken a Memrik, and they are now attacking towards Hellenivka as well as Lysivka as well as Ukrainsk. And so this area also is looking like terrible. So we shall see how this goes. This is actually a defendable line. If the Ukrainians don't defend this line, then I do not know what the hell they are doing. They might as well just surrender. So let's see whether the Ukrainians will hold up this line against the Russians, because not defending this line means the collapse of a massive amount of grounds around Nevelsky. So if I zoom out, you can see that the Ukrainians have some kind of a very big salient of salt around this region. Of course, this is a very, very huge territory. We are talking about a width of like 17 kilometers from top to bottom. So this is a huge ground. And in terms of depth, we are talking about like another 12-13 kilometers. So this is a very, very big area. But if the Russians able to just continue to make progress in this way, and maybe bring the battle to Hernik, the Ukrainians, this entire area here will collapse. They will have to redraw, and the Russians are already making pushes in the Maximelinivka region, Georgievka and Krasnohorivka. So this is going to be very challenging for the Ukrainians if they do not hold the above line. This line must hold. If this line don't hold, then this entire region would just collapse. And then you guys cannot complain that I use the word collapse, because it will be a massive collapse. So, but let's see how this develop. The situation is not good for the Ukrainians. So we move on to the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, as mentioned, Georgievka, there is fighting reported around here. Probably also it could be the south, could be the north. There's no specification where the fighting is. So let's see how this develop. Over in the Konstantinivka, Paraskovievka region, Russian forces geolocated, confirming that they are at least in this area, invalidating some of the Ukrainian claims. There is still fighting reported in Konstantinivka. There is no confirmation from the Ukrainian side that Konstantinivka has fallen to the Russians. Not yet. So we still have just a claim per se of Konstantinivka to be under Russian control. We still await Ukrainian concession that they have lost the settlement or geolocations. So over in the south, over the Volodya region, the Russians are attacking towards Vodyany or Vodyan. I like to say Vodyan because it sounds nice. Vodyany also sounds alright. There is fighting reported at Volodya. Most likely is this region here, where the Russians are pushing towards the mine. This mine is called South Donbass Coal Mine. Or you might also call it Moria Mine. It's a mine. They call it a mine. And but this area here is looking really, really bad. And because of the situation developing over at Palivka. In the north of Shchenko, the Russian forces suddenly have taken control along the entire highway region west of Palivka. And this came out suddenly based on Ukrainian mapping. And if this is actually an offensive action, and we have the Russians already taking the north of Mikhailsky, moving towards Volodya, they could potentially push down push down to the northern part, doing a northern flank or flanking movement of Voleda, and then from the Palivka region, moving further up north and pincer and close and encirclement around Voleda, and try to envelop it and avoid having to storm into this fortress. Voleda has been a fortress city. It is the one of the most bombarded location in Ukraine, and is extremely devastated. It's nothing like this satellite imagery. And so I bite my tongue when I was saying that. Yeah. There must be a curse. No, there must be a spell in Voleda. It's very dangerous. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. So nothing at the Velika Novoselka sector. We move into the Zaporizhia front. At the Zaporizhia front, Russians are also looking very suspicious. Fighting is reported at Kayamsky, Zerebianki, towards Novodanilivka and Robotine. The Zerebianki one and the Kayamsky one is mentioned by the Russian Defense Ministry. The Ukrainians mentioned Novodanilivka and Robotine. So we shall continue to monitor and to see whether the Russians will do something different. Over at the Kherson front, we only have one shelling reported over at Dniprovsk. There's another location called Rudanik, which I cannot find. So so just pretend it doesn't exist. But that's about it. So that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 917 for the 28th of August. Do press the like button, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. Is this just the Ukrainians trying to do a tactical retreat? No, because they no longer subscribe to the defend every single inch theory. Maybe they are moving to a more defendable line before they start fighting. So perhaps. So let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next update.